SoFi has a critical issue, and we've not talked about it. Now, you might think that this is going to be a video about Anthony Noto, the CEO, and that is not the issue at all. You might think that this is yet another video on whether or not SoFi is innovative, whether a tech company, or even the tech platform. And really, that's not the point of this video either. There is one position, one critical position, mind you, that SoFi has essentially not filled. Yes, there's somebody in the position, but at this point, it seems like perhaps they are just taking up space. Who am I talking about? Jeremy Rishel. Now, the last time I talked about him was in regards to insider sales. Now, if you look at insider sales at SoFi, of course, he has sold a lot, but this is not a topic about the insider sales. Stock-based compensation is part of a compensation package for most companies that are publicly traded in the United States. And there's, as it says, many reasons to sell and just one reason to buy. And so his business is his business. But the issue is he has been at the company now for several years, actually since 2022. He joined SoFi midway through, I believe, in June or July. And since then, the way that the company has integrated technology, that is iterated, has launched new products, has really slowed down. Now, a lot of people have blamed other things in macro. They blamed regulation. They blamed a lot of other things. But the buck stops ultimately either with the CTO or ultimately with the CEO. Now, why am I bringing this up now? Because really nothing has changed. We don't hear from him much, which some companies do that. That's not a huge deal. What really got my thinking was that conversation and that debate about whether or not SoFi is a tech company. Now, when I created my own criteria, and I'll link the post that I did this before and also video as well, one of those assets that I look for is the CTO role in a company. Now, if a CTO is basically just a figurehead or is absentee and really not present, doesn't have real power and decision making, is not launching things left and right, is not well integrated in the tech community, perhaps it's not as much of a tech company as I like. But in companies that really are tech companies, the CTO more often than not has a prominent role. One of my investments, and it's not SoFi, has recently shifted from pretty slow implementation of new technology and innovation to a much, much quicker environment. And it's simply because they changed their CTO role. Now, this is Srini. I don't know how to say his last name, Venkatasan. Probably said it wrong. He is, I think, perhaps very underrated, especially for what he's brought to PayPal. Previously, and you can look at his bio yourself on LinkedIn, and I won't go all the way through it, but previously he was with Walmart for almost 9 years. He has actually quite the resume as well. You might say, well, Walmart, come on, Walmart doesn't do tech. If you think that, you have not paid attention to Walmart. Back in 2023, I actually isolated Walmart as a fantastic opportunity that was underrated in the market. And look where the stock has gone since then. Now, I didn't invest. I didn't have the capital at the time, but I saw what they were building on the back end with technology, that they were doing all sorts of different innovation regarding supply chain, regarding automation, regarding their tech platform. And yes, they do have a tech platform, the reward structure, and of course, their Walmart, I think it's Walmart One is what it's called, their online shopping as well. And it's one of the reasons why their stock is way, way up, is because they put in the time and built something that was sustainable. And Srini was one of those that was very well involved in that all the way through, even more so on the supply chain side. But he handles tech very, very well. Now, he was brought over in place of Archie Deskus. Now, I don't think that Archie is necessarily a bad person. I don't think she was bad at her job. I actually like what she was doing at PayPal. But sometimes you get somebody in the C-suite that is credible at their job and good, but it's just not the best fit. And perhaps that's the case for SoFi for Jeremy Rishel. Now, as far as Srini, why do I think that he's doing such a great job at PayPal? And I know that this is mostly a video about SoFi, but I want you to see how big a shift that PayPal went to. Back in 2023, I was an investor at the time. I was like, yeah, the innovation is not that bad. It could be a lot better. And I hope that they ramp it up under Alex Chris. But they launched a few different things here and there. They talked about, of course, these 7 new products that they were launching in the first look back in January. But there were long roadmaps, and PayPal was very, very siloed at the time, had never done a developer day, and really just wasn't involved much on the tech scene at all. Wasn't thought of it that way at all. Since then, Srini comes over And they launched not just one developer day, but two. Now you could have a day and it doesn't mean much, especially if the tech community really isn't there. And so they launched one back in August of last year regarding Fastlane specifically. And it seemed like it was a success over basically a day and a half. And so, that was good. Now they had their second developer day in late April, and at late April they had all the big guys there. They had Microsoft. They of course had people from Claude Anthropic rather. They had Postman and a lot of others as well. And we just saw a small glimpse. They launched PayPal AI, which I mean, you're like, hey, anybody can do a web domain. But really, what they're focusing on is AI, artificial intelligence, and AI commerce, agentic commerce. They launched, of course, industry's first, as far as a payment side, the first MCP remote server. And since then, we've seen them integrate, or they're working on integration with Perplexity, an announcement that came out just a few weeks ago that I'm very excited about, with Perplexity, rather. That's not the only thing that they're doing, too. Developer days are great, but you can see the developer support as well that they pushed out is just next level. Look at their YouTube, look online on their X community as well. It's just, let me just show you this. It is full of all kinds of stuff. And it's not just stuff that they're shoving out that's boring. Like, this is just since May 22nd. A lot of this does revolve around that developer day. They are shipping products left and right. They're shipping features left and right. And I've had engineers that I've talked to that are like, PayPal's involved in MCP? I thought that they just weren't paying attention anymore, that they'd kind of given up. PayPal has not, and a lot of the change is under screening. Now, this isn't the only thing that they've been doing as well. I want you to see this too. Postman, of course, they work with, and Postman had their own event as well where they give out some awards. And they noted and they said that PayPal is one of these best APIs, along with X, Salesforce, Zendesk. Don't know who that is, and Meta as well. And yes, Stripe is a customer of Postman, and yes, Stripe has APIs. But they said, you know what, PayPal, their API, we really like that, and that's a high praise. Usually, PayPal is not thought of in that way. Now, it's not just on the front end either. PayPal has also launched an AI agentic product internally that has accelerated development, especially in the coding side, but really for all employees as well. It's available and it's there, and it has improved efficiency. But they've also done this. Essentially, PayPal had become this behemoth that was just gigantic platform of all these different services and products that they had launched. And some of them at times in the past, before Alex Chris, like PayPal and Venmo, would compete for the same user and compete for the same sell, which made no sense. It was ridiculous. And at the time, you could not communicate from PayPal to Venmo. If you were wanting to send somebody stuff on Venmo, which PayPal owns, too bad, you would have to send it from your PayPal to your bank account, then to Venmo, then to the other person, which was ridiculous. Instead, what they've done is they've launched PayPal One. PayPal One is basically saying, okay, we want to be cloud native, and we need to be at this point. Braintree, by the way, is already cloud native. They've made that shift. But they said, rather than having all these different silos, which just makes it a challenge on our tech side, and it hurts customers, it slows down improvements, it slows down latency as well. Let's shift over to the one platform where they're incorporating everything. Now, look at this timeline. I love this timeline. We're going to talk about it in just a moment for PayPal. But PayPal itself, branded PayPal and PayPal Zoom, it's complete. They announced this, by the way, it was in February of this year. And so they might have been working on it for a few months, but let's just say from the beginning of this year, they shifted these over. The first half, Zeta will be on there. That's their POS company. Venmo will be at some point in the second half of this year, where they begin working on PayPal Braintree and PayPal Complete Payments as well by the first half of 2026. So how long is this entire process? Maybe a year and a half. For a company as massive and as disjointed as PayPal has. I mean, they have code that is very outdated that needs to be updated. They're using AI also, by the way, to integrate that. This has led to a couple of things that we won't talk about too much, but that's from their investment side. There's a lot of internal improvements and a lot of external improvements as well from the customer. So internally, externally, product shipping, developer days, awards and recognition, all of it has shifted dramatically for PayPal since Srini came on board and very shortly after. Now, I'm sure some of these things they were working on, building on, and thinking about prior to his arrival, but the cadence has increased dramatically. Now, let's look at PayPal. Now, this LinkedIn is not everything, but you can see his resume, and I'm sure he's a fine engineer. He has some chops that are pretty interesting there. I heard some things that I won't go into because they're just rumors and Splunk that were not so good, but he's been here since June 2022. What are some of Jeremy Rishel's biggest achievements? Well, let's look at the tech platform. Now, he is not solely responsible for this. There are a lot of other factors as well, but of course, PayPal acquired Galileo and Technisys and have been slowly integrating that and actually moving internally all their stuff over to that tech stack, something that is expected to be completed at some point this year. That began in 2022. So this is a 2.5, maybe 3-year migration if they finish it on time, versus again, where PayPal was, that they're integrating and doing this in a 1.5 years. They're a much bigger company. And yes, you can say that gives them more resources. But believe me, when a company is significantly older, their technology is more outdated, and they don't communicate well with each other, it should have taken PayPal significantly longer than it actually is versus what is happening with SoFi. Now, there's complexities that I may not understand, and that's fair criticism. I am not an engineer, a software engineer. But I also look at the actual tech platform as well. So he came over in Q2, actually in Q3 2023, because he came in June of 2022. So I know that it can take a little while to ramp up, but let's just look at this. From almost $90 million to it's grown as far as revenue to just over $103 million. Does that seem like a problem to you? So it's actually 87.623 million. That is an increase of 18%. Now you're like, hey, 18% in a year is great growth. Yes, but that's not a year. Again, that is significantly longer. The actual CAGR is 7%. Actually, under 7%. That is horrendous. Now, again, there may be external factors, but what we've seen since then is they've lost their largest client, who is actually moving over to their own tech stack. Now, that's going to happen from time to time. There's companies that'll say, hey, we can just do this on our own. But when you see that, and also Current previously left SoFi as well, which is part of the reason why the revenue has been kind of flat, there is an issue. If you look at the products that they're actually shipping out, the API, the development, it has slowed down significantly. Now, if you're newer in SoFi, you may not realize this, but back in 2020, 2021, especially 2022 as well, the iteration, the implementation of new innovation was much, much faster than today. Now, it's kind of a meme, but we still don't even have a level 1 option. Another big issue as well is that there's no real roadmap as far as products and technologies for SoFi. They do mention a few things here and there, but we don't really have a great idea of what they're looking at building, what their next focus is. Now, sometimes we get wonderful surprises like the loan platform business, which is it's the best thing that they've done in years. It's fantastic. It's a great platform. It's doing really well, and I'm very pleased with it as an investor. Should Jeremy Rishel get some credit for that? Sure, probably. Yeah, I'm sure he's involved in some capacity. But ultimately, there is no product roadmap at all. And when Anthony Noto was asked as far as like what they're building and working on, he said, hey, we're going to play with these cards very close to the vest. I don't want somebody else copying what a roadmap actually is. Now, do they have one? I'm sure that they probably do. I sure hope so anyway. But companies that are innovating and integrating well at a high cadence, they don't worry about what the competition is doing. Now, there is a right time to launch and announce things, but SoFi is playing it way too close to the vest. And I think it's simply because they know that if they announce something, somebody else might steal that idea and be able to do it a whole lot better and a whole lot faster than SoFi. That's a problem. That's a significant problem. And the buck really stops with one man, Jeremy Rishel. I think it's past time that SoFi says, you know what? It's time to move on and get somebody in here that can actually help us integrate technology and do it at speed and do it credibly so that we can continue to grow as a real tech company. Jeremy Rishel, I'm sure, is a fine person. I'm sure that he's very competent in many ways, but I just don't think he's a great fit at all for SoFi. And I think it's time to move on. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. Do you disagree with this take? Are you happy with the job that Jeremy Rishel is doing? Are there things that I'm not fully appreciating? And there probably are. I would love to hear that. Let me know in the comments. And as always, thank you for watching, commenting, and subscribing. Until next time, happy investing.